At Rocky Mountain PBS, it's our goal to provide you with information and insight into the issues that matter most to Colorado, helping you make informed decisions that will make our state an even better place to live. Hi, I'm John Ferrugia, Managing Editor of Insight on RMPBS. Insight is locally produced journalism that informs and inspires. Our in-depth investigations span the state and give you information and perspective only available at Rocky Mountain PBS. And coupled with PBS's trusted national news, we use our journalistic experience to empower our communities and our state. Here are some of the stories you're going to hear about in the next few months.
Navy veteran Zach Phillips wasn't certain he'd make it to age 33.
I was a totally different person that didn't care if they lived or died.
A deployment overseas in 2006 left him suffering from a tortured mind and a painfully damaged back.
I had popped my head out of that room and then I'd seen the smoke.
Zach says he fell down a ladder during a fire on board the USS Nashville in the Gulf of Aden. And when he returned to American soil, his mind turned against him.
So this was the story of a Navy veteran that we followed. He lives in Colorado Springs and he struggled with PTSD for a really long time. And he is a proponent of marijuana. He believes that marijuana is helping him with his PTSD struggle. So what we did, we wanted to investigate because Colorado has made a big investment in marijuana research, specifically on veterans. And that research is all happening in Arizona. So we wanted to find out more about it. What's the status of it? What's happening? What is the probability or the possibility that marijuana could be used for veterans? So we actually traveled to Arizona and talked to the lead researcher. And what's interesting is we found that there's actually some snags that are happening in her research that's making it difficult.
I was a sailor in the Navy and had a bright career and would have never ever envisioned myself homeless. To this day, I still have a difficult time just putting those pieces together and realizing how and why I was here.
For many, Cherry Creek State Park is a retreat from city life. But for veteran Leslie Sanchez, this was desperation shelter.
I was by myself and alone and frightened at times.
It lasted 4 years.
And I lived out of my car.
Leslie is one of the 628 women veterans in Colorado who are facing homelessness so far this year.
One of the challenges that the data poses is that there aren't that many resources to really account for how many homeless female veterans there are in rural areas. So
They're not being counted.
They're not being counted. So there could be many, many more that we do not know of and that are not getting the appropriate services or housing help that they need.
Yeah.
How's it going today?
Mike Kilbane is a former Coast Guard gunner's mate who served in Vietnam.
Everything's good.
He has come to the VA hospital in Grand Junction to see his primary care doctor, John Best.
How's your mood and mental health doing? I got a little shaky a couple months ago.
Like many who served in Vietnam, Kilbane suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
You know who to get a hold of when you're having some issues. You know, we're all concerned, and you know all the phone numbers there.
And like thousands of other rural veterans across Colorado, Mike Kilbane has traveled hundreds of miles just for this appointment.
Good. Okay.
Kilbane lives in Hayden, Colorado, and the VA hospital in Grand Junction is the closest full-service VA facility. There are 400,000 veterans, men and women, in the state of Colorado, 400,000 plus. About 1 in 5 of those live in rural areas, and so they're not in a metropolitan area where they can get services. So we've talked about PTSD or women vets. When you go out into the countryside, when you go out into rural Colorado, these services are few and far between. So people are traveling hours to get to Grand Junction or Denver or one of these clinics, these rural clinics. The imprint of war, an imprint we often never see, is etched on these and millions of American men and women who served in our name. They now need their country to help them heal and recover, often decades after their service. In-depth stories, important issues. Join us for the next Insight on RMPBS.